So the U-20 World Cup is the next arc in bluelock, and so I decided to predict the entire next arc, starting from the starting lineup, starting to the matches they play, starting to the structure of the tournament. Everything about the next arc I will be talking about in this video and what will actually happen. So stay tuned. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content, share it to all your friends, and yeah, let's get right into this. Since the NEL isn't over, I'm going to have to make my own starting lineup off of who I think would make it during the NEL rankings by the last game. So this is the starting lineup right here. Yes, I know, we're running 5 strikers. Typical bluelock fashion, I know. We're going to have Rin and Shido up top, with Sei being the only midfielder with Chigiri and Batra to pass to him, Baro and Nagi behind those two, and Isagi serving as a middle striker, the last ditch effort. And then for the defenders, we're only going to have 2. We're going to have 2 Metavision users, Aiku and Niku. Listen, those 2 can very much hold it down on defense. Along with Sai coming back and Hiyori and Ryo on the bench, I'm pretty sure that that defense will be fine. And plus, the name of the game for bluelock isn't to defend against your opponent. It's to just outscore them. So you know what I'm saying? I think it makes perfect sense that this team would be a super offensive team that doesn't aim to play defense, but aims to outscore the people who they play. So I feel like that's a pretty logical starting 11 right there. Anyways, moving on. Now, for Japan's group in the U-20 World Cup, I decided that I want to put one powerhouse in their group that could actually put them in their place, and then one team that's actually a favorite that's actually going into the tournament, and another team that's just not very good. Now, these teams are Spain, Colombia, and Ecuador. Now, I'm not going off how good they are in real life. I'm just putting my own headcanons onto this. But I'd say the first match, they'd play Ecuador. And so they demolish Ecuador. They demolish Ecuador 5-3, Rin getting 2 goals, Isagi getting 1, Baro getting 1, and Shido getting 1. I think that'll be a good way to start out their tournament and announce to the world that, yeah, bluelock is here. You know what I'm saying? We're ready to fight, and we're not just shit like we usually are. Next, they would play the powerhouse of the group and also the favorite in the tournament, Spain. Now, the reason why they'd get absolutely torn apart 6-2 by Spain is that Spain, if you guys didn't know, was where Sei went. Sei went and got discouraged there. So I feel like in this match, it would be a great way to just show bluelock how far they are from the best, but they're still up there. You know what I mean? Like, they just can't compete with the top dogs yet. And it'll also show what happens in Sei's backstory this game. As we all know, Spain is a team nationally, like IRL known, with great midfielders like Xavi, Iniesta. So I feel like bluelock would struggle heavy as Sei being their only midfielder there. And so he would get pressed off the ball many times and just not have a great game. You know what I mean? I feel like him not having a great game will also prove to Rin not having a great game. But on top of that, I also feel like Spain will have the next New Gen 11 striker that is the one that discouraged Sei from his dream. And so he would be able to get into Rin's head, and Rin would get absolutely locked up as well. Now, that's how the Spain game would end, with bluelock completely in despair and them just being completely torn apart. After the Spain game, bluelock would need to change some tactics because they'd realize that one midfielder would not be enough. So they'd have to sub in some people like Ryo, Hiyori, maybe buffing up the midfield a little bit more because of the flaws that they've seen in the Spain game. So going into the game against Colombia, a game that they need will have high stakes. Colombia will also be a team that has a new Gen 11 on their team, and so they'll be a strong team to beat. The game will have high stakes because if Japan lose this shit or tie this shit, they will not make it through to the round of 16, which is why I feel like this game will end 4-3 with Isagi getting 2 goals, Batra getting 1 goal, and Nagi getting 1 goal. Isagi ended up getting the game winner to send them through the round of 16. Their first match in the round of 16 will be against England, a very powerhouse, strong team, and after the game against Spain, they will have learned how to play against these powerhouse teams. So I feel like they will just edge this game out. It would be one of the best games in the entire manga, as bluelock would win 5-4. Isagi getting 1, Chigiri getting 1, Rin getting 1, Baro getting 1, and Shido getting 1. It'll be a fucking roller coaster game going back and forth, and in the end, Rin would get his confidence back by scoring the final goal. Now, the next game in the quarterfinals will be against Germany. Now, if you know Germany, it's a team with Michael Kaiser. Now, I have 2 ways of this playing out. If Isagi ends up beating Kaiser completely in the NEL, I say Japan lose in the U-20 World Cup to Kaiser. But if Kaiser ends up getting the best of Isagi in the NEL. I'd say Japan ended up beating Kaiser, but the game will be really close. It'll be probably the best game in the entire manga, with Kaiser getting 4 goals, Isagi getting 2 goals, and the score would be like 5-5, and it would go to penalties, and Isagi's team would just edge it, as it will be one of the best games in the entire manga and one of the most hard-fought games in the entire manga. Isagi would finally defeat his rival New Gen 11, and Japan's name would be announced to the world as one of the best teams in the world, U-20 wise. Now, moving to the semifinal. Unfortunately though, Blue Lock's run would end in the semifinals, where they would meet Spain again. But after learning and going through all the shit they did previously in the tournament, this game would be a complete sweat fest. And so Spain would end up winning in the last minute of extra time, 6-5. But the reason they'd be winning is because of a missed call. And so I feel like this is where the FIFA president plays in, as in the last chapter, we've seen the FIFA president, and he says, if it makes me money, I don't care. I think the FIFA president would know that Spain, the team with the New Gen 11 and all those nice star players, them being in the final with another big team, unlike other than Japan, would make the most money. So what he would do is rig that shit, and that's how Blue Lock would end up losing. But in this game, we'd have crazy character moments like Sai finally unlocking his ego again and wanting to be a striker and actually scoring. You know, he'd have a great game, and contrasting the last game he had, he'd have a great game. Ren and his brother finally making up that whole bond that they had before. And then so we just get a bunch of reveals, crazy character moments in this game, but Japan would still end up losing, which would add unpredictability to the story and a lot of stakes. Now we're at the end of the tournament. At the end of the tournament, there'll be a lot of characters that'll be frustrated and a lot of things to move forward. Now, what I'd be confused about is, would they get signed after this? I'd say each player gets signed after this, and they actually get to start playing professionally for a club that they were chosen for in the NEL. Now, what this will lead to is a time skip, all the way to that time where everyone had split up from that point and everyone had gone on to train on their own, in which they would come back and all play on their new clubs for the next arc of the Champions League. Anyways, the Champions League arc will be the arc that completely decides the throne of Blue Lock and who is the best striker. I feel like there'll be a lot of characters that'll be on different teams, different combinations, different chemical reactions happening in that arc, and it'll basically be the arc where most of the characters reach their full potential, and the arc after that will be the actual World Cup, where Japan actually ends up winning it, which will be just an amazing conclusion to the story, I feel, and just an amazing stretch of chapters of just brilliance in Blue Lock. Now, more about the U-20 World Cup though. We'd actually get to see an MVP of the thing, and here are the top scores of the tournament that I dissolved off my own headcanons. And yeah, I feel like this is pretty accurate. I feel like this is how it would go in the real actual like manga, and I feel like I did a good job predicting what the hell will happen. Anyways, leave me your thoughts down below in the comments though. Make sure to subscribe and share this video to anyone who would. And so yeah, goodbye guys.